lovely? I'm taking a bit of a risk starting outside today. There's stuff I want to show you, which is just too lovely to miss. So it's just a teeny tiny bit drizzly, which means the Wi-Fi might cut out. And if it does, I'll go back inside and it should pick up again. So here we go. This you know to enjoy, right? You can see the flowers aren't quite as wide open as when it's sunny because it's not sunny, but they're still gorgeous. And there's a lot of them. Really, it's en masse. I used to have a very hard time keeping this bed weed free, but now there's so many bulbs in it, they do most of the work for me. I still have to weed, but not very much. So, and you know, the nerines, crazy, huge, monstrous things, and they come up with so many flowers in autumn. So there's the rose bed, and I love the fresh, new foliage. It's just beautiful. Come on, let's have some focus on this camera, sort it out. Good morning, Linda! There you go. It's just beautiful. These simple little things that I love. And there are the rest of the roses. This is my favourite. Well, they're all my favourite, or I wouldn't have them. This is iceberg, and it's really old. I mean, probably 50 years, because I got it from somebody, and that was a while ago. But it's still going. Good morning, Heather. Look at my magnolia. Good morning, Jen. Isn't it beautiful? So I seem to be getting away with it, which is great because it is, as you can see, everything's very slightly damp. Focus. There you go. Look at the texture on those petals. It's just beautiful out here. Finally, the wind is not blowing. Apparently it's not going to last for long. It's going to start blowing again tonight. But meanwhile, we can enjoy this, and you can hear the birds. It's really still. It's lovely. And this is the new kid on the block. I'm just trying to find something I can actually show you that you can see. See, it's all backlit. But this has got something behind it, so you can see the cherry tree is starting. And it's a lot less blossom than last year because it's been pruned. But it had to be because it was taking over the world. And, you know, taking over the world is not so good. There we are. Oh, focus. Come on, sort it out. There we are. I don't want to focus on the background camera. I want to focus on the flowers. So now you can see them. So there you are. Oh, and I nearly forgot. Oh my God, let us not forget the bluebells. Because I really love these. They lift the colour scheme of the whole garden. When you look out the window, it's just not the same without the bluebells. They, by contrast, they make everything else better. And just look, these flowers are really big. And look at them inside. There you are. You can see the little stamens and the sort of greeny yellow pollen, and it's just gorgeous. So welcome to everybody. I can see you jumping on. I'm glad that I get to share this with you. And it is neither blowing nor raining. Oh, and look, the neighbour's apple tree has got flowers on it. I prune that apple tree. I'm the one that knows how to prune trees in the neighbourhood, so I do that. So let me start. It seems that the Wi-Fi's going to hold up, so that's great. I get to wander around out here and talk to you. So, yeah, yesterday I was thinking, what am I going to talk about? And I happened to be chatting with a friend, and I said, you know, here's your great opportunity. Any suggestions for a live? And my husband had just put up a post in a little chat group that we have, long story short, and the post was about how we literally affect our DNA with our emotions. And she said, well, why don't you talk about that? It's like, geez, how do I talk about research? It's like, oh, get your head over yourself, Maddie. This isn't hard. So I went and read the thing. And it was, you know, this is well-quoted research because some of it I recognise because I've just been reading in Joe's book about exactly the same stuff. And hearing it from other people. It's, you know. So, the whole premise that I want to sort of wrap this into is this idea that we have the ability to change our lives. Joy, it's great to see you, beautiful. We have the ability to change our bodies. We have the ability to change what we manifest in our lives. We have the ability to heal our emotions. Julian, good morning. And this because I was looking at the research and thinking, yeah, well, it's really sexy research, but what's it got to do with me? how is it practically useful? Because you can read stuff that's really interesting, and then the very next question that always comes into my head is, so what? So what? What does it mean to me? How is it useful to me? I'm such a freaking pragmatist. But, that's what I choose for myself. It has to make sense and be applicable for me. And there is very much research that is amazing and mind-blowing in its implications. But I can't necessarily explain why it's so exciting within the constraints of the time we have together each day. So, the research, the first piece I want to talk about is actually more recent than the second piece. The first piece, done by the HeartMath Institute, and most of you have heard me mention HeartMath at one time or another. They're interested in heart coherence and in how it connects people together, and how when you have a bunch of coherent hearts, they even entrain to each other, they all beat together, they all have the same rhythm, and there's this stacked pile of coherent electromagnetic fields that each person emits, and they become very entrained, that becomes very powerful. And also, because there's this whole quantum thing going on, which the second piece of research points to really loud and clear, it has non-local effects. Now, what do I mean by non-local? Well, the research. Let me talk about the research. The research that the HeartMath did is they took, let me get this right, oh my goodness, I'm having trouble remembering the details. Never mind. They took DNA from, volunteer people. They took DNA and they put it 28 volunteers, 28 people who were experienced feelers, people who were experienced at generating emotions one way or another. And they took 28 of these people and they got their DNA and stuck it in a vial. I think each vial was specific to each volunteer, to each, participant. And they had ways of measuring what the DNA was doing, I think by the electromagnetism that it was emitting. Because, wouldn't you know, DNA emits a field. That's what the other piece of research is about, 20 years older. Amazing research. And what they discovered is that when these people who were very experienced, powerful feelers felt negative emotions, the DNA literally contracted. It did. It got shorter. Because, when you look at a chromosome, it's that funny shape, right? Which, I can't really say. It looks like a chromosome. The chromosome is wound up and it has a certain size and shape. And when they were projecting and feeling and generating negative emotions, the DNA literally contracted. It got tighter. And this actually affected its ability to function. Because teeny tiny portion of of the teeny tiny amount that I know about how DNA works is that when DNA actually wants to express, like to create a protein, because everything in your body is made up of proteins, and DNA creates proteins, period. And to create a protein, it has to unwind. It literally has to unwind. And one little chromosome, when you unwind it, it's really, 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 really long. I think, if I remember rightly, if you take all the DNA just in your body and you unwound it, it would go to the sun and back 150 times. That is a mind-boggling number, okay? So that's what happens when you stretch it all out end to end. But it's wound up. It's this tiny little thing. And when there are negative emotions, it winds up tighter. It literally gets uptight. And it doesn't function. So, apart from all the muscular tension and everything else that's going on, at a DNA level, when you are stressed, your DNA can't work terribly well. Conversely, when they got these people to feel elevated emotions of love and gratitude and appreciation and caring and, joy and all of that stuff, remember these people had to practice to get good at feeling these feelings, like I've had to practice, because it doesn't come naturally to most of us, right? What they found was that the DNA literally unwound. It literally got longer, and it expressed itself better and more easily. It could produce better proteins for a better body. And remember yesterday I was saying that the proteins that you express in your genes don't just have to do with your physical health. They have to do with how you feel emotionally. And there is a genetic expression for every state of being you can have. Because a state of being is a thought and a feeling, and the feeling is chemistry, and the chemistry affects your body, period, right? So, Emotion affects the physical structure and function of your DNA. Fact 1. Fact. Been proved. HeartMath Institute. The second piece of research, and there were 3, but I thought I'm going to get my head tangled up if I try and remember the third one. So the second piece I want to talk about is this one that's about 20 years old now, and I can't even remember the man's name, which is why I put it in the writing so you can look it up and make sure that I'm not telling you porkies. What he did, and I've got to remember now. Oh yeah, he took some DNA and he put it in a vacuum. But before he put the DNA in a vacuum, I've got it back to front. He started with a vacuum and he put some photons, which are literally light particles, little tiny photons, the smallest unit of light. A ray of light is made up of photons, many, many, many photons, a tiny particle. He took photons and put them in a vacuum. And a vacuum has zip, zero, nothing in it. No gas, no nothing. And you can have a vacuum if you have a sealed container, you suck all the gas and everything out of it. You have a vacuum. So stuck the photons in, they measured them, and they just went whizzing around randomly, nothing. He put some DNA into the vacuum. And immediately, the photons organised themselves to reflect the shape and the geometry of the DNA. Weird. How did that happen? This is DNA. It's a physical substance. What is it doing? Organising photons. Which, by the way, are the smallest component of matter that you can have. You mean DNA actually influences the structure of matter? Ooh, wow. That's pretty amazing. Especially 20 years ago when no one was thinking about it. This guy was ahead of his time. Still is, probably. And then this guy did something even more brilliant. He took the DNA out again. Now, what do you think? Did the photons go back to behaving randomly? They kept the shape. They kept the structure. It's like they remembered the structure. Now, how did they do that? And, it's implied. It's sort of beginning to be recognised, and I hear it from other sources that I trust. It hasn't really been measured yet. DNA emits a field, and it's quantum. It's quantum. And this is where the third piece of research comes in. Now I can remember it because I'm not going to clutter my head up with it. So, in the middle, the second piece of research, I remember things by how I see them on the page. This was done in a military situation, so presumably with army volunteers, I don't know. But the researchers took leukocytes, white blood cells, from their different people, and they put them in, a vial, and they put them in a room separate from the volunteer. And then they stimulated the volunteer to feel different feelings by watching different video clips. So you can imagine, you watch a video of something happy, you feel good. You watch a horror movie, you feel bad, right? So these people are watching the video clips and having emotions. And in the other room, the DNA is contracting or expanding according to what they're feeling, right? Interesting fact number 1. Don't have to be in the same room. By the way, they replicated the experiment. They gave up wondering if the distance was going to make any difference after they'd separated people from their DNA by 50 miles. It made no difference whatsoever. Now, the other piece of really woo-woo, oh my God, thing that they noticed is that when the person in the room had the reaction to, oh my God, that's scary, the DNA in the other room or 50 miles away reacted at exactly the same time. There was no time delay, not even an instant, between when the person reacted and the DNA reacted. What that tells you is that there is some way that the DNA is communicating which is faster than the speed of light. It's quantum. The field that the DNA emits is quantum. And by the way, all your cells communicate through a quantum field. It's faster than the speed of light. Are you getting how important this is? Your emotions lengthen or shrink the size of your DNA, the shape of your DNA, thereby altering the field that it emits, thereby affecting how you instruct your genes, moment to moment. Wow. And, also because you emit this field and it's quantum, you're actually having some kind of effect on the entirety of existence in the universe. Do you know how powerful you are yet? Do you know how powerful you are yet? I mean, really, it's astonishing. So, that's very cool philosophy, right? Oh, interesting, Maddie. So what? Well, we talk a lot about changing your emotional state. This is more evidence as to why it's a good idea. I'm reminded, I'm sort of thinking, well, how do you do something about this? I know it is mind-blowing, Heather. It is totally mind-blowing. And this is the reason why this stuff actually works. It really is. We are quantumly entangled with everything. And, what we are experiencing, and I'm saying we because I know there's a bunch of us who are having this experience, and as a race, as a species, actually, we're having this experience. Globally, everything stopped. The plug was pulled on life as we know it and normal. Big reset. Do you realise, I was listening to Cry On the other day, a week or so ago, whenever it was. The only other way that happens is when you have a bloody big war. So we manifested a global reset, which we desperately needed. Hey, it's not been fun, it's not easy, it's not over, but we really needed to stop. We manifested it without a war. Do you know how good that is? And we did that because we made some big choices along the way not to do that anymore. Which is why this is why the quatrains of Nostradamus haven't happened, because we bumped ourselves onto a different timeline because we made some really big choices at the level of consciousness. Big diversion. Where the hell was I going with this? How do we make this actually work? Yes, as above, as below, microcosm mimics macrocosm. But actually, the question then becomes, Linda, where is the microcosm and where is the macrocosm? How do you say I'm smaller and that's bigger? Because if I'm quantumly entangled with the entire universe, then there really isn't a smaller or a bigger. And, it gets mind-blowing. So, to change my emotional state, those people that participated in the HeartMath Institute experiment were experienced feelers. We have to practice. And this is why I think the value of understanding this is that it gives you good reason to make the effort to feel something different. Because remember, I know I said this yesterday, I'm going to say it again because I say it to myself as well. When you have been so accustomed to feeling a certain way for a long time, it's not just that, it's your identity. And by that I mean there's a whole lot of circuits in your brain that say, this is real, this is normal, I've had these experiences, this is who I am. But your body's also really conditioned to it. You have a hormonal set point that relates to your most normal state of being. And when you decide you want to change your most normal state of being, that's what you're pushing against. And that's why it's so challenging, because you've been doing something else for such a long time. Yeah, exactly. Therein lies the paradox. We are much more powerful than we think. We are much more magnificent than we think. We look at what we can see and the fact that I'm in here and the garden's out there and you're on the other side of the planet, and we think that we are this. We're not. We are quantumly entangled with everything. What is entanglement? Very quickly, it's demonstrated by that experiment where the people felt something and the DNA changed at exactly the same time. Entanglement means you can take two quantum particles, shoot them to different ends of the universe. If you destroy one of them, the other one winks out of existence at exactly the same time. There is no delay, because they're quantumly entangled. It's like when you're sitting in a room with someone and you can feel their feelings at the same time they're feeling them. That is a phenomenon of entanglement too. And, really, when you think about it, if we are all entangled with everything, then to change your feeling, you are changing what you're resonating with. You're changing what you're feeling connected to. And so, of course, that is going to have some impact on your life, but you're going to have to do it for a while if you've been doing something else for a while. That's the rub, that's the work, that's the choice. To either overcome ourselves, which is not the normal thing to do. It's not easy, it's not evolutionarily programmed. We are programmed to believe that how we feel and how it is just normal, it's the way it stays. But actually, we have the option to do something else. It's just not usual, it's not normal. And so our bodies fight us and our brains fight us because they're trying to keep us safe. Oh no, don't go somewhere new. But if you're quantumly entangled with your entire existence, going somewhere new, when you go there consciously, choosing what you are resonating with, what you're drawing to yourself by the state of being that you inhabit, that's got to be safe. It's not going to feel safe to your body for a while, because your body's going to say, this is not new. But you, as the mind, if you know what you're designing and you actually believe that this stuff is true, it's like, well, am I going to believe my body? Or am I going to believe who I'm choosing to be? Where am I going to plant my flag? It really is that simple. I didn't say it was easy. But let me tell you, it does get easier. It gets easier with practice. You're always going to come up against yourself. I'm always going to come up against myself. But after the first 1 or 2 or 3 times when you overcome yourself and you get a new result and you think, oh, that worked. I can do this. It gets easier. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you so much for joining me. Maybe there'll be more research. I don't know. Aziz, it's great to see you. I don't do readings, buddy. I don't do it at all. I believe so strongly in my own ability to connect with my own guidance and wisdom. So thanks for joining. Big love. See you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.